In a culture that consistently shuns masculinity and actively discourages young men from becoming strong, capable, and competent, should we as Christians look to people like Andew Tate for leadership in this area? Some may argue that the church has done a poor job in discipling men on how to become biblically masculine, while others say that our ideas of masculinity need to be changed. With the newfound allegations against Andew Tate and his already admitted experience in the adult entertainment business, should we see him as a soldier on the front lines of the freedom of speech movement, or should we disregard everything he says? Stick around and we'll talk about it. Okay, let's discuss Andew Tate. Now make sure you stick around until the end because I have a Bible verse that I really think is going to put all of this into perspective. And if you're an Andew Tate fan, I have some words for you. And if you're not an Andew Tate fan, I also have some words for you. And if you're just kind of along for the ride trying to figure out exactly who this guy is, I got you. We're going to talk about it. So Andew Tate is pretty much an online influencer who got famous doing a few things at once, right? See, he's a professional kickboxer, first and foremost. But that doesn't make him a lot of money, he says. So he started an online OnlyFans agency for girls. They would pretty much just send him, online nude content, and then he would talk to guys on their behalf, message them, talk dirty to them, etc., and then he would get a cut of the girls' money and he would send the rest to the girls. And so they were pretty much paid employees with him as the middleman, and they were the face of the content. He started doing that. That's how he got a lot of his money. He also started something called Hustlers University, which is it's a university or a digital course that's made up of a bunch of Discord chats. And I'll put a link to a video from CoffeeZilla that kind of breaks down exactly what this thing looks like. But it's a bunch of Discord chats where he's not really teaching anything. He's providing other people who are experts in the field to teach them things like drop shipping and finance and things like that, things that you could find online for free, really, and then you charge a fee of like $50-$60 a month, I forget exactly how much, in order to become part of that community. And so that's another avenue of wealth that he has. Another avenue is going on live streams, going on Rumble, going on podcasts, these manosphere podcasts like Fresh and Fit and stuff like that. So he's done a lot of that stuff, and that's really where he's gained a lot of his prominence. One of the benefits that comes along with his Hustlers University is that people get to take his content, repackage it and repurpose it and put it on their own social media platforms, and then pull the ad revenue from those platforms. So my channel could essentially turn into an Andew Tate Clips channel, and I would get all the YouTube ad revenue from that channel, and he wouldn't copyright claim it or anything because that was part of being in the group. And so that was another way to make money. So here's the thing. It's a really ingenious marketing strategy because you're creating a community online, you're decentralizing where your content is coming from, and you're making money all while doing it, but while developing like a rabid fan base. So there's a lot of things that he did when it comes to business that were exceptional. Kind of he would continue to talk about these like manosphere talking points about men and women and gender roles, and a lot of his stuff is based in an observation of the way the world is, and he would point out the problems very accurately. Maybe I'll show a clip here of one of the things that he says about between men and women.
And a woman, if you ask her what she wants from a man, she's like, I don't want much. I just want to find a nice man who's a millionaire and 6 foot tall and funny and charismatic and interesting and spontaneous and looks after me and doesn't cheat and is funny and good looking and strong. I don't want much. Like they name all this shit that most dudes are never gonna have, and it's becoming harder and harder, and you end up with people, top G's, who own everything on the planet they could ever possibly wish for, and then you got other guys who have nothing, and there's this large divide. There's no longer any middle ground. You have dudes who can't get any pussy, and then you got dudes who are just blocking girls left, right, and center. And that's what the problem with being a man is today.
The problem with his demeanor and with his content is not that the content itself is wrong. The problem is that, one, he doesn't respond to it. He doesn't have a solution for it. And two, he actually makes the problem worse by doing things like the OnlyFans agency and by, creating this lavish lifestyle of excess and all of these riches and showing that off as if that's something that is to be treasured or to be sought after. Right. And so he's kind of furthering the problem instead of giving a possible or tenable solution to the problem. And that's where I think a lot of people get mad at him, because he points out things that are true. And so you have people that are very much leftists that are like mad at him for pointing out the truth. And then you have people that are on the right wing that are all about him pointing out the truth, but they don't care about his character at all. And now this is where I want to talk to people on the right side of things, right? I understand why you would vouch for Andew Tate. I understand why you would want him to succeed and to tear down the elites and, to escape the matrix and all this stuff. You see him as a front runner. You see him as somebody that's on the front lines of this whole freedom of speech, bourgeoisie versus proletariat kind of beef that we have going on, the globalists that are controlling everything. You see him as a response to that. But my problem is that when you're doing things in your character that contradict your message or that make the pain that you're addressing in your message even worse, those things are no longer tenable. Those things don't really matter. And so what you're left with is just a bunch of buzzwords. You're left with a guy that's just talking about stuff, but he's not really bringing any solutions. Like, my channel is very upfront with you. My only solution to everything is Jesus, right? Even the solution to my own depravity and my own sin and things that I have going on in my life that I know are not godly. Like, the only solution for me is Jesus. And so let alone for all these people and these elites or these big popular influencers or politics in general, the only solution is the kingdom of God. When it comes to people like Tate and right wingers, I'm not even going to say Christian conservatives because I'm not talking to Christians right now, just right wingers. There's this ability to say the ends justify the means. I don't care if they lie, cheat, and steal to get where they go, as long as they're pushing us in the direction we want to go. And I think that is a compromise on values. I think that is one of the reasons why we're losing, honestly, because we refuse to hold ourselves accountable. The left has their own values. People always try and like justify the left covers up for their own, but the left eats their own all the time if they compromise their own values, not our values. So they're always compromising our values because that's why they're leftists, right? They have a different set of values. But if you compromise their values, like women's health care, right, like abortion, if you compromise that value, you're out, right? And that's one of the things that I think people on the right need to realize. We have our own set of values, and we have to hold our own people to those values, just like the left has their own set of values, and they need to hold those people to their values, and they do that, and they do that better, because if you speak out against the LGBTQ, if you speak out against abortion, if you speak out about how weird Hollywood is, you are ousted right away. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And so we need to do the same thing with pro-marriage, pro-life, monogamy, all of these things. Those should be things that are embedded in us. And if we see a bad representative of that, they're out. And I know it's harder because it's actually true and it's actually moral, and nobody's perfect. So there has to be an amount of grace. You can't keep taking people like Andew Tate and lifting him up to be like the epitome of masculinity or something, because he's not that. As a matter of fact, he's very much in opposition to traditionalism by his actions. He says all this good stuff about the Orthodox Church and traditionalism and how he wants, to keep women conservative and this and that. But it's a double standard, because he won't take up that burden. He won't be monogamous. He won't be a husband. He won't be a father. He thinks he's exempt from the rules. And that is exactly why I think he's not a good candidate to be your front runner, to be this person that you guys put up as leaders. So this leaves the question, well, what is the church going to do about it? What should the church say about it? First of all, we have to stop letting Christian men listen to this guy. Not saying that we should ban him, but saying we should have people that are more influential than him talking directly to these men. And I'm not talking about influencers on a massive platform. I'm talking in the daily lives of these kids, fathers, husbands, church leaders in their local church, helping disciple these young men into becoming who they need to be. Those are the things that need to happen more. And those are the things that we should all be trying to do as men. If you're a Christian conservative man who values the idea of masculinity, you should be helping the men around you become masculine instead of pushing them to listen to somebody like this. And so that's my big problem with Andew Tate. So I want to go towards a Bible verse here, and I want to talk to you guys a little bit about what's going on here. It's kind of a reflection on the Tate situation and even his whole demeanor as a whole. So we're going to go to 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 17. Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. So this is Paul talking to Timothy, right? As kind of a father figure, as kind of a pastoral figure, somebody who's a mentor to him. And he's saying, look, don't put your hope in the riches. Don't be arrogant and put your hope in the things that you have on this earth. Put your hope in God. Make that the value system that you base your life around. And he continues, verse 18, command them to do good, be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. This is something that Tate doesn't do at all. I mean, he says that he does all of his charity work in private, and we can say, okay, we believe him or we don't believe him. We'll have to see proof of that. 19. In this way, they will lay up treasures for themselves as a firm foundation for the coming age, so that they take hold of the life that is truly life. And that's my big dilemma here. Tate is pushing men to be masculine for this earth, for the things of this world, for the flesh, right? Be monogamous and find a good girl who's a virgin because it will be better for you. Not because it's the dutiful thing to do in the eyes of God, not because God is holy and therefore he commands us to be holy and to take care of a woman, etc. The incentive is wrong. And that's all these manosphere types. The incentive is all self-serving. And so when people like Tate or when people like Fresh and Fit and all of these guys talk about getting the right girl, they're running through tons of other girls to get to the right girl and therefore ruining the quote unquote right girl for a bunch of other guys. Hafiz talks about this. Hafiz, who's the host of The Roommates, he talks about this all the time. Guys will trample over tons of women, alpha dudes who have many options, will trample over a bunch of different girls and ruin them for the next guy. And that's a sad truth, and that's the reality of the situation we live in. Now, my solution is once again the church, once again Jesus, right? Proper discipleship, proper accountability in relationships between people. If you like a girl, go to their parents, go to their father figure, go to their pastor, say, hey, I want to date her, and have accountability and pursue marriage in that. And so I think that's the way to go, as opposed to doing the Tate stuff and attaining status and getting a Bugatti, all that stuff. So let me round this out. Verse 20, Timothy, guard what has been entrusted to your care. Turn away from godless chatter and opposing ideas of what is falsely called knowledge. Dang, man. Stop thinking that all these people are wise and that they have something to contribute if they're not talking from the scriptures, if they're not talking from a biblical lens. That wisdom at the root of it is from the Bible, right? The things, the nuggets of things that they may get right is from scripture. And it's good and it's fulfilling. But stop listening to them just because they have some good ideas. You can listen to people who have more than some. It's the net positive versus net negative thing. I think arguably Tate has a net negative, to be honest. I think people like Jordan Peterson net positive, even though he's not a confessing Christian. There's a big net positive in his work and the people who follow him. And you can tell by his fans. They pursue the right things for the right reasons. Now, and to be honest, there's been a lot of people that have called him like the gateway drug to Christianity, where people see his work on the Bible and they become Christians because of it. And so that's fruit. Now, I'm not saying that this guy's a minister. I'm not saying he's a pastor. I'm not saying he's an authority on Christianity, but I am saying that there's a net positive for him. And 21, to wrap it up, which some have professed and in so doing have departed from the faith. Wait, let me reread this. Timothy, guard what has been entrusted to your care. Turn away from godless chatter and opposing ideas of what is falsely called knowledge, which some have professed and in so doing have departed from the faith. Grace be with you all. Now that's crazy. If you listen to these guys, you'll end up leaving the faith. That's what Paul is saying there. If you listen to falsities that claim to be knowledge, you're going to end up leaving the faith, because the things that they're saying are distortions of what God is actually saying. And because of that, you are getting a counterfeit version of what God actually finds good, and that counterfeit would eventually erode and will lead you away from God. And so I'm not saying that this is black and white, like you listen to him one time and you're going to stop being a Christian. But just like anything else, what you feed yourself is what's going to come out. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, right? So what's in your heart is going to start to come out. And if women hatred and hating the opposite sex and treating them all like they're all promiscuous and all for the streets, and none of them can have healthy relationships, if that's in your heart, that's going to come out of your mouth, and that needs to be checked. So I'm going to cap this all off with these allegations that are against Andew Tate of sex trafficking. Now, there is no evidence for that, right? Exodus Cry did a great post about the lifestyle that he lives and the things that he's gone through, and there have been allegations about women that have been held at his house for some time, and turns out those, from what I know of, happen to not be true. The women actually spoke out, and et cetera, et cetera. But I will say this: if he is part of a sex trafficking operation, I'm not surprised. Why would I be surprised? This is a guy that lives his life completely hedonistically, where everything is about his pleasure, and he has ideas on how the world should be, but he has no real solutions. And so he's not giving any prescriptions. He's just giving descriptions of everything. And that's been his body of work. I find him to be ultra entertaining and at times very funny. But when you're looking at something as serious as these allegations, you have to look for the proof. And if the proof is there, he should be locked up and throw away the key. But I will say that, and I hope you will join me on my next one as I continue to cover more cultural stuff. I'm going to try to be posting more. Make sure you like and subscribe. I know a lot of you have not subscribed yet, so before you leave, make sure you subscribe, like it, and let me know, what's your opinion on Andew Tate? Do you think he's a leader in disguise? He's breaking the matrix, or do you think that he's somebody that we shouldn't listen to, or you're halfway on both? Let me know. Drop it in the comments. See you later.